Hope follows. I'm Julie Kenzler, and I am your host for this show. You might be wondering if you have never seen Hope Follows before. It's a show that where we take an opportunity. Either I share something that God has put on my heart, or I have wonderful guests that come in, and we talk about the hard things in life, the difficulties we face, whether they're something we imposed on ourselves, poor decisions, or it's just something that unfortunate happened, from minor troubles to major troubles and catastrophes that we face in life. And we want to make sure we know that there is hope, always following those difficulties. And that is my message to you, friends. And I am so thankful that you're here joining me. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that's called regret. Yes, regret. And I think it's fitting that we talk about this topic that many people don't want to talk about right now in January of a new year. Why wait until December to talk about regret? Let's talk about it now, face it, and decide how we're going to deal with it and move forward. Well, do you ever have those moments? I want to take you back to some moments that I recall that are pretty special in my heart. And when the sky is all different colors, it's beautiful. It's near sunset. The sun is going down, and the rays of the sun are just really tall and vibrant. And you look, and the clouds are just beautiful, and the formations. And you look and you feel like, wow, it looks like heaven. And I recall when my kiddos, my children who are now adults, when they were little, and they would comment, wow, mom, it's Jesus. That looks like Jesus up there. And I love those moments because they're so tender and sweet. How their spirit, you could be having a really bad day, and you just look up, and this little one tells you, remember, that looks like Jesus. And it just helps you put things into perspective. The wonder, the astonishment of the sights in those moments. Well, a new year also brings wonder and astonishment, and all the clock comes down in New York City in the United States, and all over the world there's these celebrations of the new year, and the astonishment and the excitement is just electrifying. And I love that we have these opportunities for newness. But I also think it's super important to reflect and to look back. And many people might be going into a new year not with all the excitement and enthusiasm, but actually more fearful, timid. We might even have downcast hearts and spirits, thinking about the things we regret, the things that are from the previous year or even before that. And we go into this new year and we think, I'm not all excited about this new year. There are some things I did not finish. There are some things that I did not resolve in my life last year, 5 years ago, whenever it was, 25 years ago. And I'm having a hard time moving forward. And I'm going to share some types of regrets that people have listed as their most common regrets. And I'll share a few personal things to help maybe relate to you as well, my friends. But I think as I move into talking about regret, often we have regret when it comes to times of grief, when we're grieving. Automatically, instantly, those feelings and thoughts, emotions of regret, they just come pouring down on us like a black cloud. Like in the cartoon, the Peanuts cartoon, Snoopy, and there was um, not Linus and Charlie Brown are some of the main characters, but there's the little boy who has like he's carrying a dirty all around him. There's like a cloud over him, and it's just dirt from this little character. And I don't remember his name, but I picture that when we're dealing with regrets and our losses. And I remember when, and Hope Follows is a story that came out of losing my sister, my beautiful sister, Tammy. And if you want more about the story and then how Hope Follows ministry started, I encourage you to go to hopefollows.com, and you'll see so many podcast stories and blogs and more episodes of Hope Follows HSBN to help encourage you, stories that you will connect with. But it all started with losing Tammy to a drunk driver back in 2013. And then we had a court verdict of the driver not being guilty, though we know he was. And then another year after the verdict, losing my brother-in-law, who was Tammy's husband, to suicide. All of those creeping in, it's like piled on top and just so overwhelming and hard to even push forward. But the regret, oh my goodness, friends, feeling like, what if I had called Tammy that night and we'd talked on the phone and she wouldn't have left and been on her motorcycle? What if that man would have gone off the ditch instead of hitting my sister? What if someone at the bars would have, because there were multiple bars, would have said something to him like, don't drive home, I'll take you home? What if I feel like, what if I would have, I wished I would have gone back to visit my sister that summer before this tragic crash. I wish I would have done that. I wished I would have done that. I wish I would have done this. I regret not doing this. I regret doing this. We can just sit in that and it just goes deeper, and it's just a pit to nowhere. And it is definitely what the enemy would want, because the enemy wants to steal that joy and that hope that we have to be able to move on in our grief, to heal, to recover. Well, I don't know about you and coping with those negative thoughts and regrets, but I'm going to share some things that I have learned about regrets and the would haves and the should haves. And one thing that has always helped me was finding the opportunities to have good memories, to building new memories. And that has always helped me. And I talk about it all the time. Make a memory. And I feel like that is a great way to shift your thoughts from the negative regrets that are painful and they torment us to how can I create a new memory? My husband once was invited by his uncle to go backpacking, to go hiking in the Grand Canyon here in Arizona, where I live. And he didn't go because I think he had some obligations with work. And he could have gone, but he didn't really put in the big effort. And years later, his uncle died. And I remember Kurt, my husband, sharing that was a regret he had, not taking that opportunity to go with his uncle to hike. And we even have a hiking stick that he used. And every time I look at that hiking stick, I think, wow, I want to make sure that I say yes more when I'm able to. I say yes more to these opportunities, adventures, experiences. Because I think that when we're older in our life, we're going to look back and remember the experiences we had with people, the memories we built. Another way that I help myself get rid of all the regret feelings and thoughts is to look at the things I did. So when I regret and feel sad that I didn't visit my sister Tammy the summer before she passed away, I look at that time and I think, okay, yes, I could have. And I even had started to plan to go visit, but I didn't. And I regret it so much. But I remember, and I'll look at pictures, a time that she and I went to SeaWorld, which is an amusement park and zoo all in one in California, here in the United States. And we had the time of our lives. I remember us having a dolphin experience, not really swimming with the dolphins, but we were learning all these different tricks and skills to do with the dolphins in our wetsuits. And I just can close my eyes and picture that moment. And Tammy laughing and the dolphins spraying us. I even remember when we were going to have dinner with Shamu, the whale, the famous whale. And there was this beautiful area, big, large pool that the whales live in. It's not a pool, it's bigger than that. But here we are, all these tables set along the water area. And she and I picked a table right next to the water because we're okay if we get splashed. And we wanted to have dinner next to the whales. And we went to go check in for our dinner. And I remember them saying, you have tickets for SeaWorld in Florida, not California. And so Tammy bought the tickets for our meal for the wrong state. The wrong state. It was for Florida instead of California, which is where we were at. So we're running across the park and we change the tickets and run back and we get to have that wonderful meal. And whew, we were exhausted, but we had such a great meal, a wonderful time. And you see the regret that I could just be swallowed up into just instantly is transformed into laughter and just so much joy. And that's the hope that follows regret. So now I want to share with you some more things I have learned about regret. What is this feeling? It's the negative cognitive or emotional state that involves blaming ourselves for a bad outcome, feeling a sense of loss or sorrow at what might have been, or wishing we could undo a previous choice that we made. And some articles I picked up were from Psychology Today. And one article talks about the damage that regret can have on our minds and bodies. The pattern, I'm going to read from that article, the pattern of repetitive, negative, self-focused, ruminative thinking, so over and over and over, is characteristic of depression. It is actually linked to being a cause of depression. Living in regret. My friends, I don't want you to live in regret. So let's work through this together. Let's talk more. What is the value in regret? A researcher from the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University in Chicago, Illinois. He is actually a leader in the field of regret. So he researches regret. That's what he does for his job. He did some studies on younger people and showed that regret was rated more favorably than unfavorably because, as he states, because of the informational value in motivating corrective action. So regret, these younger people found, was their pathway into something new, something better, something corrective, different, that was positive. And there's 5 things that these young people noted that they learned. That regret was helpful in making sense of the world. Regret was helpful in avoiding future negative behaviors. Regret helped to gain insight. Regret helped to achieve social harmony. And regret helped to improve the ability to approach desired opportunities, being more proactive, more intentional. So I find those to be very positive, and I hope you do too. Then there is another list from another article I have, and the different types of regrets that people listed, different types. There are the romantic regrets. Perhaps you might feel this. You might have regretted maybe someone that you wished you would have stayed in a relationship with, or maybe a relationship that you never should have been involved with. Another psychologist named Christine Allen, she is also a life coach. She said, instead of living in that regret, use awareness of maybe any hurt or conflict you dealt with in that relationship that was not healthy. Don't avoid conflict in the future. So face it. And so the regrets of these, perhaps a romantic relationship you had that was filled with conflict and you just didn't know how to handle it. Now you can go forward into a future relationship and be able to handle conflict in a healthy way. Then there's also family relative regrets. I remember a time where my sister Tammy and I were disagreeing on something, and I made a comment that really hurt her feelings. And I hated that I said it. And I knew it was not the right thing to say. It hurt her so bad. And she did tell me, and I'm so thankful because we were able to work it out. But how many times do people let weeks and days and months and years go by and they never resolve a conflict with a family member? So friends, I encourage you, and as also in this article, we are encouraged to work through it. Make the phone call, write a letter, do what you can to resolve conflict with family members. Education regrets are also on the top of the list of the types of regrets. The career choices, the career regrets. We regret not trying harder in college. Maybe we regret not going to college. We regret maybe the wrong career path we chose and staying too long, not making a change. I first started my college out with a journalism degree and decided I didn't want to do that. So then I went into accounting, which is completely different, writing versus math and numbers. Well, I worked in that field for a short time, and then I had a sudden change because I was laid off from my job. And I found myself deciding, okay, is this the wrong career choice, the wrong degree? You could just live in that regret. And you can also take it and say, okay, I'm going to use my experiences and I'm going to go forward and follow something else I had dreamed of once, which was education to me. And so I ended up becoming a teacher. And I am not going to live in regret that I didn't do that in the beginning, because I met my husband because of the degree I had achieved in college. So you just have to look at those past moments and things that could look at as regrets that weigh us down, and just determined to find something positive in that. There's also financial regrets, which is huge and top on the list of regrets. Debt, spending money in places where we shouldn't be spending money, missed investment opportunities, just poor decisions on large purchases. And that again can also be another pathway, an avenue into some positives, because we can look at those experiences and regrets and choices and determine to take a class on financial investments or financial advising. We can learn more about ourselves and our money habits. Another type of regret is parenting regrets. Oh, as parents, we regret being too harsh with our children. We regret not spending enough time with them. The regrets can just be so huge. Again, we can just find ourselves in a pit, but we can't stay there. We can regret that we overlooked some problems we saw possible in our children's lives, like maybe drugs or alcohol or sexual promiscuity, pornography, anorexia, eating disorders. But instead, let's take what we know and go forward. Love on our children. And even if it's a regret you have from years ago in your parenting years, determine to find peace now. Find peace and ask God to help you with that. If you need to write a letter to your child, telling them how much you love them and value them, and how you wished you would have been able to help them sooner, but you are now. You are helping them now. And there's also health regrets that we wished we would have taken care of ourselves better with our with eating, with being more physically fit. That one is definitely something we can always start new each day. We can definitely move past those regrets and make some decisions. It's a new year, and find some ways where we can definitely be healthier. There's also friendship regrets, and again, some conflict, like family members. And I remember a time a friend of mine and I had a huge falling out, and it took years for us to resolve it. And I am so grateful today that we did, because she is one of my best, closest friends, like a sister, who encourages me spiritually, emotionally. So I encourage you also, if there's a friend that you've had a conflict with, write a letter, pick up the phone. I know that you'll feel better for it. And what if they don't reciprocate? What if they are not willing to move past the conflict? At least you tried, and you can pray for them. There's also the type of regrets that pertain to spiritual regrets, regretting not going to church enough, regretting choices that we made that don't line up with our spiritual beliefs. But again, that's where God comes in, and He is the ultimate forgiver. He is the forgiver. He forgives us. And so we can be resolved and at peace with that, and moving forward, making good choices. And community regrets. That was a little surprising to me, because I didn't really expect that to be a big regret. But some people do actually regret not giving to their communities. And perhaps you might feel that way as well. And that one, again, you can find ways to help in your community, food banks and soup kitchens for homeless. There's so many ways that we can help in our community. As we start to wind down, I want to bring all this regret and package it all up and just put it aside, because I have such a great story from the Bible to share with you. It comes from Matthew chapter 9, verse 17, and it's about wineskins. Neither do men put new wine into old bottles, else the bottles will break, and the wine runs out, and the bottles perish. But they put new wine into new bottles, and both are preserved. Back in the days of the beautiful Bible, biblical days of these precious pages, they didn't have bottles. They actually used the wine skin. So it was leather and hide from the animals. So I have a little piece of leather and wanted to show you. So they would fill them with the wine. The wine would go into these wine skins and sealed so they would not leak. Well, as the wine was used and poured out for the weddings and the celebrations, it would obviously be depleted. And it would make sense just pour wine into the old wineskins. But they couldn't do that because when the wine was put into here and it would sit in here, it would bloat. It would get bigger and bigger. And if you continue to put more wine in, it would just bust and burst open and break. Same thing as that Bible verse talked about bottles. It would break if you put too much in. So the whole idea is get a new wineskin. So we have a new wineskin, a new bottle, and fill that with your wine. And so that is so applicable to us learning about these regrets and moving past them. We have new wineskins. Our bodies, everything about us is all about God giving us new chance. And so, friends, moving forward, let's be sure that we don't stay stuck in regret. Dear God, I thank you for this time together with my friends, that we could talk about regret and we could talk about moving past it. Help us to remember the new wineskins and to pour in the new and look for the new. In Jesus' name, amen. And it's time for a big idea. All right, the big idea to encourage others. Write down a friend's best qualities and give it to them. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.